My name is Jeff Morgan. I am from Dallas, Texas. Just got a few updates to talk about with court watching. For those people who don't know what court watching is a right that we as citizens have to observe our courts in action. We are the taxpayers. We pay the judges' salaries. It is our taxpayer money that funds the courts, and we have the right to see how our tax dollars are being used. Furthermore, we have the right to observe our judges because in many of these cases, these judges are elected. And by watching their actions in court, we can decide whether these are types of judges that we want to have elected again or not. So it helps inform us as far as our voting is concerned. But a third very important point is this, is that when we watch the courts, we are the check on the judiciary. We have 3 branches of government, and theoretically, each branch is supposed to be a check against the other 2 branches. But when it comes right down to it, in many cases, it just does not work out that way. Why is that? Because often, the legislature is composed of attorneys. Attorneys argue in front of the judicial branch. You have judges that are there that are attorneys, but you also have with the legislature, you have a lot of attorneys. So the separation of powers really exists when you have attorneys overseeing attorneys. Attorneys in the legislative branch watching over the attorneys in the judicial branch. And it's even worse when in a case like in Texas, we have a governor who is also an attorney. So we have a governor attorney with the legislative attorneys overseeing the judicial attorneys and the attorneys in the courts. It does not work. When it comes right down to it, in many instances, the attorneys are a fraternity. They are a fraternal order almost, and they will back each other up. An attorney who was a legislator today may be kicked out of a job next election, may be going back into his or her work as an attorney, and does not want to be responsible for creating laws that would not benefit them in private life. You have a governor who, again, came from the judicial branch, and he's got a lot of friends in the judiciary, and often the governor appoints judges. So the judge, the attorney governor who appoints attorney judges, does the governor really want to, in a sense, go after somebody who he's appointed? Maybe he'll appoint somebody and then it's hard for him to say, you know what, maybe I made a mistake here. Maybe I should not have appointed this person to be a judge. And such is the case when we consider the person of Judge God or tyrant judge or the haughty judge, Dustin Howell. Dustin Howell out of Travis County, who was appointed by Attorney Governor Greg Abbott, part of the club. When Governor Abbott, again, who was an attorney, appoints somebody like Dustin Howell, who is an attorney, as judge, does the governor really want to see his appointment turn out badly? Or will he find ways to defend him? I don't know. And when you have people in the executive branch who also are attorneys, and the attorneys have this club because, you know, they're all together, we've graduated law school, we're all attorneys, whether we're Democrats or Republicans, we're attorneys first, we're everything else second. Does the legislature really want to go after the judges? So really, we don't have an effective means of oversight of the judges except if the citizens take up this responsibility. And that is part of our duty. In the Bill of Rights in the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 13, it states that the courts shall remain open. It is the right of the people, the right of the public to observe how their courts are operating, and also to serve as a check and balance against the possible abuse of judicial power. So with that right that we have to watch our courts, I believe we also have a responsibility to oversee the judicial branch, because too often our legislature fails to oversee the judiciary, and even our governor fails to oversee the judiciary. The only way that proper oversight can take place of the judiciary is if we, the citizens of the state of Texas, actually exercise that oversight. And that is what we mean when we talk about the idea of court watching. It's citizens going into courts and seeing what is taking place in their courts that their taxes pay for, people that get elected. We go in there to see, are these judges acting in accordance with the judicial principles which they claim to uphold? One of them being impartiality, and then of course fairness and upholding law, all of these various things. There are certain canons that judges need to adhere to, and if not, we should file a complaint against them, because the judiciary is, as they would like to say, the fine black line which keeps our society a civil society. The problem is when the fine black line fails in their responsibilities and does not judge justly, that is when we have chaos in society. In fact, distrust in the judiciary is the beginning of the breakdown of society. Well, anyway, today we were court watching in a couple of cases, and one of them was in the 345th District Court. Now, the hearing that we were going to be court watching for was Terrence Champagne versus his ex-wife, Ray Cow. And Ray Cow had an attorney whose attorney's name was Daryl Weinman. Daryl Weinman charges $525 an hour. And there's a lot more that I'll be talking about with Daryl Weinman in the near future, because Daryl Weinman has been a source, a wealth of wonderful information about the way these anti-family courts work. Anyway, it turned out today that Judge Jan Sophia was talking about the case with Terrence Champagne and Ray Cow, and she and Daryl Weinman, the family law attorney extraordinaire, right? For $525 an hour, it's got to be an extraordinaire family law attorney. Well, anyway, she made the comment that she thought that the judge could wrap things up in 20 minutes. The judge basically turned around and said, you know, you may be overestimating my ability, but I can control the court, and I believe that that's probably pretty fair. Well, all of a sudden it appeared, based on Judge Jan's testimony to the court, that perhaps she already had a predetermined outcome in mind for the hearing, and that she could not be impartial because she wanted to wrap it up in 20 minutes. So there was a person who also filed a motion to have her recused from the case as well. Lo and behold, Judge Jan, who was going to hear the case today, cannot hear the case because she also may be recused. But that was not the only case that we actually dealt with earlier today. There's another friend of mine in a court in Tarrant County. He was supposed to be appearing before Judge David Evans, and this again was for a recusal of a very corrupt and unjust judge, Graham Kiesenberry. The judge that threatened me, the judge that has threatened other people, the judge that thinks that he is a law to himself. Actually, a lot of them do, but Judge Graham Kiesenberry is particularly corrupt and particularly bad. Well, anyway, Judge David Evans was going to have a phone hearing today, but he provided no phone number. Now, that's very interesting because on these hearings, you are supposed to make sure that the public has reasonable notice and access to the hearings. So I got up this morning and I sent an email to the court administrator, and I also called, and I copied a few people on the email, and another person also emailed.
Hi, this is Corey, 48th District Court. Sorry that I missed your call. If you could leave your name and the cause number you are calling about, I will call you back as soon as I can. Thank you.
Hi, Corey. My name is Jeff Morgan. I am calling. I want to request a link for the telephonic hearing today that's going to be taking place with regard to the Rustin Wright case, and also the recusal of Judge Graham Kiesenberry. I believe David Evans is hearing it. Judge David Evans is hearing it today. I believe it's at 2 o'clock, but there's been no type of a telephone link provided. I wanted to call in because I've actually have witnessed the case in person. I've been there on numerous occasions over the last 2 years, and I know that the Constitution says that the court shall remain open, and Judge Roy Ferguson has talked about public access to these hearings. So I'm going to send you an email as well, but if you could send me the telephonic link, either you can text me at this number right here, or actually I'll send the email to you, and if you can just send me the number at the email, I'll make sure that the other people who also want to tune in for the hearing can do so as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Corey. Again, my name is Jeff Morgan from Dallas, Texas. I will be sending an email in just a moment to you. Thank you so much. Bye. Lo and behold, the hearing got canceled. See, it looked like Judge David Evans wanted to let this one slide beneath the public viewing. And once we started to say, where is the link that we can also either call in or have access to it, Judge David Evans had to reschedule the hearing to September the 9th and make it an in-person hearing. So it seems like when a judge wants to hide something from the public, that perhaps there is something that is not completely up on the up and up that is going to be going on. So there's going to be some of us that will be going out to this hearing to witness what Judge David Evans is going to do. But I would also say that based on the fact that Judge David Evans was trying to slide this one through without providing the public reasonable access to listen to the hearing, to see how their courts are working, that perhaps David Evans also as well had a predetermined outcome, and perhaps Judge David Evans needs to be recused. Now, whether somebody will seek to have him recused or not still remains to be seen, but I would not be surprised if that were the case. Anyway, we felt like there were a couple of victories today. They were small victories. In these judicial systems, in the courts make the rules. The courts stack the deck in their favor. And the courts think that because we are people who are not educated in the law as they are, because we have not taken the high priestly vows of the attorney profession, the lawyer profession, that somehow we are less able to represent ourselves in this courtroom. And that they can boss us around, they can abuse us, they can extort us for money, all sorts of things. Judges can make illegal rulings, and no, we're just supposed to be fine with that. That is their court. We have another court. Our court is the court of public opinion. We have the right, we have the duty to exercise our check on judicial abuse, to present our case to the public about these corrupt and unjust judges and about attorney practices which often border on unethical, if not abusive. And the interesting thing is that we get to control the narrative when it comes down to the court of public opinion. Why is that? If you ask a judge about something, he will often say, well, I can't comment on this case because the litigation is currently pending. Well, guess what? When we take the offensive against him and we have the evidence against him or her or whomever, they also cannot defend themselves because it is current litigation. We can tell our story and we can encourage other people to come and watch. On these court watching sessions today, I think we had 60, almost 70 people watching. We should have had more. We can get more. But it's very interesting to watch the way the judges act when they know they're being watched. In the case of David Evans, who will be going in front of next week, when he realized about several months ago that there were almost 30 people watching, he chose to recuse himself from the case. We have had many instances where people have been 50, 80, 100, at one point almost 900 people in one case, and the judge had to take note that there were people watching. When you go to the courts in person, go in there with a group of people and just sit there and watch. And it is amazing because all of a sudden now the courts know that they're being watched. Judges will not be so abusive. Judges will not be so threatening to a litigant. Judges will act in such a manner so as to not perturb the people out there. Yet if a person were there without his friends, without his or her support group, that person could be abused by that judge and by the attorneys. So again, today was a good day for us, I felt. And with regard to court watching, let me just add this one thing. You don't have to actually watch when you're there. If you're working, turn on your computer, turn on the YouTube channel and let it play in the background, because you are now considered a court watcher. And in fact, if you're at home and if you have a work computer and if you have a home computer, get them both going if you want to, and get several browsers going. So you might have Chrome, you might have Safari, you might have Bravo, you might have Microsoft browser, you may have a number of other browsers. Get them all streaming. So maybe you're 5 people watching the court hearing, and then if you have a cell phone, turn that on too. Let them know that we're watching. They don't know how many people are watching. They don't know if there's 70 or if there's 10 acting like 70. And this is something that we can use to our advantage. They have to assume the more people are watching, then fewer people are watching. And then when you see things that take place that are not in accordance with the judicial canons of judicial conduct, when you see things that are unethical, file a complaint immediately. Go to the State Commission on Judicial Conduct. For last year, I believe the total of complaints was about 1,700 complaints against judges. We should see that number double this upcoming year. It should go from 1,700 to 3,400. Why? Because there are many people that are not filing complaints against these judges. And if you have a judge in which 10, 15, 20 people file a complaint against the judge, we would hope that the State Commission on Judicial Conduct, the body that tends to not do much of anything, would actually start to take a look at this. And then if you file motions against these judges, as happened today, you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, it's a way to fight back. I encourage you all, if you are not a court watcher, to hook up with a group. One final thing. These judges tell you that, we do not allow you to video record our proceedings. Number one, I don't think that they have that authority to do so. And the reason I say that is this. Because if you look throughout the courts in Texas, there are courts that actually do live stream and do keep the video up online. There are some courts that say do not record, that's their warning. There are some judges who say you cannot record. All of these various things up there, but there are many other judges who say come and watch the courts. These are your courts. So there's inconsistencies among the judges in the courts right now. Also, the Texas Supreme Court. The Texas Supreme Court broadcasts their hearings live and they leave them archived. So if the Texas Supreme Court can do that, why do these family courts think that they can actually order people not to video record? And one guy said, oh, I'm going to be recording all right, and I'm going to put my name and my address and my contact information. He's in a different state. What kind of jurisdiction do they have over him? And he knows the case law is on his side, and he wants them to come after him. If you want to record, I think the case law is on your side. At the very least, I don't think that it's been determined. And I think there's a lot of educational things you can learn by watching these courts. For example, today I watched several different, I watched a couple of things, just a little bit, and I saw how one attorney was questioning another attorney over attorney fees. So this is an educational process that you should know. You should be able to say, okay, this attorney used this case law against this attorney's exorbitant attorney fees. So learn that, research that. Look at these court cases as it can be a free legal education to you. You may not like what you see sometimes because there's a lot of sketchy things that happen in these courts. There are a number of cases where injustice takes place due to a procedural issue. You need to watch these things, you need to hold your courts accountable, and these attorneys that think that somehow they are God attorneys as well, I'll call them out too. I believe that you have the ability to do so, and if anything, it's always in your opinion. For example, I can say, in my opinion, Jessica Janicek of the Kunstfuller Law Foundation is, even though she's a very good attorney procedurally and stuff like that, I believe that she is an immoral, unethical wreck. So that's my opinion. I believe that the Kunstfuller Law Firm, which is a very powerful law firm in the state of Texas, I believe that they are also amoral at the very best. So they want to portray themselves as being these great people. I think we need to actually expose them for what they are. Many of them just want to abuse you, want to rob your finances, enrich themselves. If you get an opportunity, watch the YouTube hearings. And once they get away with these YouTube hearings, go in person and watch it, because you actually have the right, and I believe the responsibility, to provide oversight for these courts so that they are not abusive. Because our governor won't do so, and our legislature won't do so. Many of them already are attorneys. Attorneys are not speaking out against attorneys. So you as the public, you as an individual, you may not be an attorney, you may barely have a high school education, whatever, you have the right, you have the responsibility to watch your courts and to file complaints against these people for misconduct and for unethical practices and for abuse. Anyway, that's it right now. Like I said, today was a good day, and I will talk with you again later on. Thanks so much. Bye.